Colossians chapter 3 and verse 12. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts. Put on passionate heart, kindness, humility, meekness, patience. Learning a new way to be family. Learning a new way to be family. We don't choose the family we're born into. But we do choose the family that we build upon. What do I mean by that? Well, so most of us growing up didn't learn emotional health. We inherited the emotional or unhealth, maybe. Whatever those patterns were, we inherited them growing up. But Jesus invites us to his family. And in his family, we practice a new way to be human. So Paul tells us here, before he says anything else about what to do, Paul tells us who we are. And I like this because in the Gospels, it was the same way with Jesus. I could tell you what to do, but if I tell you what to do, you're just going to go do it. Sometimes it's blind obedience. I told someone one time, they said, I said, if the blind lead the blind, Jesus talked about this, they both fall in the ditch, right? Well, who determines who's blind? How do you know what? So the scripture always points us back to truth. It's truth, right? So Paul writes, he says, put on then as God's chosen ones, holy, beloved. So I'm chosen. And it's like in scripture, I don't know, growing up, well, I just ran through scripture. I just like bolted through it. Like just instead of stopping and slowing down and realizing, put on then, okay, I put it on. What do I put on? And he's like, well, hold up. Before you put on, I just want you to know you're chosen. Before I tell you what to put on, you need to know you're holy. You're deeply loved. Identity first. I'm not trying to be a better person before learning how to be loved. And for some of us, that can be a challenge. Identity first. So what if our families talked, this is a thing. What if our families talked about feelings? Feelings. What if we talked about that? What would it look like if Dad would have talked about his anger? What would it have looked like if maybe Mom talked about her addictions or her anxiety with the family, a present family? And I think about that and like, what would that look like to sit down in the living room or at the dinner table and now the conversation is about your day and how'd your day go and I got mad today and I did something that I probably shouldn't have done and then there's, watch this now, there's no preaching at you, but it's more along the lines of, well, man, how did that really make you feel? And you're able to reflect. You say, actually, I didn't feel good about how I responded. Well, how would you have liked to respond? Well, let's go maybe further. Like where did you see that response before that? Woo! What would that have looked like that if it was safe? What if we didn't hide? Because healing doesn't happen where things stay hidden. Healing happens where love tells the truth. We don't grow by avoiding our past. We don't grow by, we grow by integrating it, meaning you can't heal what you keep hidden. Healing doesn't happen when it stays. Happens where love tells the truth. A lot of times I realize this in therapy, he wouldn't tell me what I did. A lot of times I'd figure it out by him just asking questions. I'd be like, oh, that's where I could have. Didn't realize that. But he never told me. He just led me to it. I'm like, So I'm like maybe 6 months in, and I'm a year in, and then I think I'm 3 years now. Let's go. I'm still healing. Healing happens where love. And the more I process, the more I find truth. And the thing is, if I'm judgmental towards that truth, man, it's hard for me to walk through it. But when I embrace it to the degree of this is what I know, I responded based on what I knew at the time. So why judge myself for a decision or something that I made in that season that I didn't know any better way to be family? That's what Jesus did on the cross for you, me, a new way to be family. I don't know about you, but maybe you grew up hearing some of these phrases like, don't talk about it. We don't talk about that. Sometimes you can understand why. Or maybe this was one that I remember hearing frequently. And it doesn't have to be, let me just put this plug in here, it doesn't always have to be from parents. It could be from just surroundings, environments, right, that we put ourselves in intentionally or unintentionally. Just pray about it. And man, I'm like, man, I've been praying for, or one of the phrases that I have been unpacking in the past 2 months is, you're better to suffer wrong than to be wrong. Because I always knew that as when someone does you wrong, you're better to suffer with that than to maybe bring light to it. And so we stay silent because you're better to suffer. And that's what I've been unpacking it. Man, that's been heavy. Or maybe you've heard, if you can't fix it, just fake it. Whew. Fake it. Just fake it. Maybe we learn from our families how to yell. Or maybe we learn how to stay silent. Maybe we learned how to hold grudges. Maybe forgive. Maybe we learn how to love, but with conditions. My wife and I have been walking through some stuff in the past few years, and we've talked so much about this. Loving with conditions. I love you up until this point, and then I draw the line. That, I'm not touching that. I love you, but I don't, now, I'm not talking about the, let me preface this. I'm talking about loving someone through something. How do I present this? You can love and love at a distance. You can love and not put yourself in a situation to be, right? If I know a pilot, just because I know the pilot and I love the pilot, but he's a horrible pilot, doesn't mean I'm going to get in a plane with him. And so what Paul's described this in new relational skills. So we'll walk through this in Colossians 3 and 13. Bear with each other. When he starts out, he says, bearing with one another. Now this is the first part, so I put a little A right there. Colossians 3 and 13. A. This is the beginning. Bear with one another. So if you know you're maturing spiritually when you stop needing everyone to think like you or talk like you or vote like you, see religion like you. Maturity is seeing someone for where they're at. Understanding. I've been in situations where maybe the situation wasn't so good in someone's life. And it's easy to look at it and say, well, how dare you, whatever. But when you stop and back up and you say, okay, so what led you to this point? I got angry and I flew off the handle. Okay, well, let's back up. But what brought you to this point? Well, I said this 900 times. Well, if you had to say it 900 times, chances are there's going to be a tipping point. Understandable, right? Bearing with that is not an easy thing. Both for the person that maybe did it and for the person that experienced it, right? To bear with someone doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate this pilot. Right? But to bear with someone means I'm willing to stay connected with you even though it's uncomfortable. Listen, man, I'm willing to stay connected to you, but I'm not willing to get on a plane with you, okay? I just don't trust you to that point. You say, how dare you? Well, I have no problems. We're good, right? I don't want to get on a plane. We're good though. Let's go get lunch tomorrow, right? But let's go. Staying connected. I'm okay staying connected. You're not a bad person. It's just to not uncomfortable sometimes to not stay connected. So it's easier to drift. It's easier you're growing even when it's messy. You're growing even when it's messy. And here's the thing. Jesus is proud of the way that you show up. When you think about Jesus getting baptized and John the Baptist baptized him. A voice booms from heaven. This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. See, when you're walking through your journey in your healing process, the pleasing doesn't come because of what you're doing. The pleased with you comes from who you are. It's like, I'm chosen. I deeply loved, holy. Okay, I'm coming back to that. Staying connected, even when it's uncomfortable. I read a sign the other day. Getting off my notes. I read a sign the other day that said, "Oh, this is about to be controversial." Mother Sosiah. I read a sign. That's my precursor. I read a sign the other day that said, "Sin separates us from God." And I thought, does it? Sin separates us from God. That is so easy to say. Sin separates us from God. I thought, okay. So, and then my mind starts racing. I start thinking about all kinds of scriptures. Well, what can separate us from the love of God? That's what Paul said. Shall tribulation? So I can go through all this stuff. It said, shall persecution? I can go through all this stuff. And I had this narrative, and maybe you have too, growing up. It's like, man, so sin separates me from God. So I have to make sure that I'm constantly running and earning that. I got to make sure I'm constantly performing to this degree that I make sure I earn his approval so that he's proud of me. And I'm walking through this mentally, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, but so I go back to Genesis chapter 3. When Adam and Eve are in the garden, and Adam goes or eats the fruit. Eve took the fruit, but Adam, she brings it back to Adam, and Adam eats it. They both took of the fruit, right? And here's what kept spinning in my mind. God comes after Adam, and he says, "Adam, where are you?" And so I say, where is he? What? Oh, so sin does separate me from God. And then it hit me. No. It's the guilt and the shame. Leave. You say, okay, the root may be sin, but the guilt and the shame makes me create distance. It is hard when I feel guilty to be in the same room with Jesus. It's tough. And if I walk through that, staying connected, even when it's uncomfortable, he's willing to sit there with me. Sin separates us from God. I would submit to you that there's nothing that separates us from the love of God. He is consistently pursuing us up until the point we say, I don't want it. At what point is that? So, what healthy families do, listen, they don't ghost each other. They grow with each other. So, to this rest of the scripture, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so also you must forgive. So, point 2 here, forgiving as the Lord forgave you, learning to release control. Oh man, that's a tough one. Learning to release the control. Because it seems like we're wired for control. But forgiveness doesn't mean pretending that it didn't hurt. Forgiveness just means choosing not to be ruled by it. It's an emotional detox. It's not really even I forgive you. You wronged me, so I forgive you. I've been in situations where someone came up to me and they say, I didn't like how you did this, so I just wanted you to know, and I forgive you. And I'm like, what is that? What just happened? And then they, it's just like, we good? And I'm like, I guess. Are we good? That's not what forgiveness is. You don't even got to tell me what you did to me. You could just say, man, I saw you in the wrong light, and I just want you to know I felt guilty about that, and I want to draw closer to you. Oh, that's different than, right? It's not saying what it's saying here is I'm not letting your offense decide who I become. You got mad at me, but that doesn't change who I'm becoming. Stay mad. I've heard that phrase. Oh, do you, boo? Some people just, it's okay. You've been hurt, but that's not who you are. You're a survivor. You're defined by your courage and capacity to heal. You are. Listen, we've all probably heard this phrase, but bitterness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick. You know what I'm saying? It's learning to release it. I'm not going to sit here and keep drinking it. No. Go through the stages of grief. Walk through it. I remember Jesus in the garden. I remember. I read it. He was in the garden. I remember he was in the garden. Dude was in agony. I remember. Say, dude, no disrespect. Have mercy, Jesus. Verse 14, I gotta hurry. And above all these put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So love binds everything together in perfect harmony. To the piano here. But you just get one key and then you do another key. But if it's not in harmony, it doesn't sound good, right? But it's love puts everything together in perfect harmony. Right. So put on love. Put on love. Put on love. You want to know what our uniform is? Love. 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 And here's the thing, if we grew up by dysfunction, love sometimes doesn't feel natural. Love is, we go through the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient. Man, look, I'm not patient. Love is, I'm not. So putting on love, that helps me become patient. And then it becomes a habit. You can train it. Love trains you. The scripture says the grace of God teaches us. The grace of God teaches us. Grace teaches us, not judgment. That's why he went to the cross. If it's practiced, it becomes easier. And when Paul says put on love, what he's saying is, listen, make love the first outfit of your day. When you get up in the morning and you put your clothes on, put on love. Make it the first. Because you may not have been raised to experience perfect love, but you're formed by it. And every day you wake up is proof God still loves you. And he still chose you. Every single morning. And verse 15, it says, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. And this is interesting. Let the peace of God rule. Learning the refs. I like football. I don't like seeing the Chiefs always win because of the refs. I said it. And learning the refs, though, I think is what the Chiefs have done a good job at. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. But Paul uses this word here, and it literally means to sort of rule your heart. It literally means to umpire. Translation: when family tension rises, let peace call it. Should have brought a whistle. Sam's whistle. Don't do it. We don't want to pierce everybody's eardrums. So when you feel that old family pattern trying to take over, that urge to control it, or that urge to withdraw, or that urge to explode, you're able to stop, pause, and let peace call the shot. It's funny. In my mind, I see like a little umpire. Calm down, Tony. You know, don't be frustrated about that. But hey, yeah, he's just calm and can't be. So I don't. And really, what this is about, it's not that you can't be angry or frustrated or have those feelings of withdrawal. It's you want to be careful because you don't want it to get to the point where it hurts someone else. 6 of the Old Testament laws are about other people. How we treat others. Honoring others. 4, there's 10 total. 6, 60% of the laws are about people. 40% are about honoring God. There's that. Maybe there's a pause and an ask. What would peace do right now? Because peace it's not about avoiding the conflict. Really, peace is staying connected through the conflict. You don't have to match people's chaos. Sometimes it's what people are after. It's what they're used to. So the chaos feeds it. But you can model peace, because the same Jesus who calmed the storm is the same Jesus who can calm the storm in you. Won't he do it? Okay. Can you get me that? That board? Now, I want to just walk through here for a minute. Family. You think of a genogram, right? Family. I want to walk through what this would look like. So, because, listen, grace runs deeper than genetics. Thank you, sweetie. Grace runs deeper than genetics. And so, what a lot of times we have is, genetics. We have, no, maybe I'll do this backwards. So we have you, Dad, Gramps. That's what I like to call Grandpa. Gramps. And I did this upside down, but I'll show you why in a minute. Seems like Gramps, maybe he struggled with addiction. Maybe he struggled with addiction. And so Gramps stayed silent. Gramps was quiet. And here's what's happened. Here's what happens. And not always like this, okay? But I would just walk through this and just know that this isn't always the cycle per se, right? Dad struggles with anger. And he avoids. Avoids because he sees that. And it's easier, right? Staying silent, okay? So it's easy for me to avoid. And then what happens usually is maybe we struggle with anxiety or control. Because one goes, and because of this, maybe I have anxiety because the anger makes me anxious, but he's angry because he sees this. And talking about a new way to be family. Because this right here can put us on the struggle bus and it cycles. And maybe we're here. And maybe we're here. Maybe we're here. And the generation just keeps going. But here's the thing. Jesus teaches us a new way to be family. And what I love about it is he doesn't erase the story. He steps into it. So, he steps in and he dies on the cross so that you could let go and trust. So Gramps could be free. So Dad could truly love. It's learning a new way to be family. A new way. He's willing to write a new chapter. Freedom. Love. Trust. Grace runs deeper than genetics. Grace teaches me what this does, and what this does, and what this does. And grace changes the narrative. Say, oh, so that's why so that's what. And grace does what grace does. And it helps me walk through this journey feeling valued, cared for, and truly loved. It's that appreciation. It's almost like God saying, I see you. I know you've been through that, and I just want you to know that there's a why, and I see you. Closing this out, John 13 and 34, John writes, a new commandment, Jesus says, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. Here's the thing. Jesus isn't giving a new rule. He's given us a new way to be. He's saying the mark of the kingdom family isn't power, Because we see kingdoms as power. Family has power. He says, no. This family is about presence. There are some people that I like to avoid. Right or wrong, I like to avoid. I love them, but I'm not going to get in the plane with them. I'm not going to let them drive my car. Mentally, emotionally, physically. You know what I'm saying? We've all got those people, right? And then there's those people that they're just there. And it doesn't matter. It's marked by intimacy. I'm talking about intimacy in connection. The relationship is defined by how deep our relationship goes, not in our image and what we express. This is who I am. No. Who I am. The next verse, in verse 35, he says, by this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. A new way to be family. Love for one another. Because God uses the people close to us, especially those who would